The reverse bear trap. Amanda wakes up in a filthy room, wrist strapped to a chair. A heavy contraption wraps around her head like a muzzle. Metal plates dig into her cheeks, gears ticking inside the casing. A tape recorder crackles, the voice explaining her fate. In 60 seconds, a trap will snap open and rip her jaws apart. The key sits inside the body of the unconscious man on the floor. Amanda's breath quickens, panic spilling into sobs as the timer begins. She grabs a knife, her hands trembling violently. With a scream, she plunges it into his stomach, the blade sliding deep as blood bursts out. She digs with her fingers, choking as she pulls aside torn flesh, the beeps climbing louder. Her hand brushes cold steel. She yanks the key free, dripping red, fumbling with the lock. The long final beep blares. Amanda twists desperately, the lock clicking free as she rips the device off. She throws it aside a split second before it snaps wide open with a thunderous clang, steel jaws clashing inches from her face. The rack Timothy Young blinks into lamplight, strapped to a towering wooden frame. His arms are locked into steel cuffs, his legs braced, his chin clamped so he must look forward. The machine groans to life, gears grinding like distant thunder. His right arm begins to twist backward, slowly. Bone creaks, tendons stretch, then snap with a sharp crack. His scream pierces the chamber. The machine pauses, savoring his agony, then moves to the other arm. The joint bends unnaturally, skin splitting as blood pours down his side. Sweat drips from his face as his cries shred into hoarse sobs. The gears shift downward, seizing his right leg. It twists steadily until the femur bursts through flesh, blood spraying across the wooden supports. His entire body convulses. The machine grips the other leg, twisting it in the opposite direction. Timothy's head jerks as tears stream down his cheeks, his voice breaking. Finally, the brace around his head clicks into motion. With a grinding turn, his neck snaps sideways in a wet crunch. His body slumps lifeless, limbs pointing grotesquely in every direction. A broken puppet dangling from splintered wood. The angel trap. Detective Carey wakes strapped upright, a massive steel harness locked across her chest. 6 mechanical claws arc over her ribs, each gleaming in the dim light. Across the room, a vat of acid bubbles, steam rising. The key lies submerged at the bottom. The timer screeches to life, every beep cutting into her chest. Carrie doesn't hesitate. She plunges her hand into the vat. Her scream is immediate, the acid eating her flesh instantly. Steam curls upward as her skin dissolves, blood and smoke mixing into foul vapor. She digs deeper, sobbing as strips of muscle peel away. Her ruined fingers finally close around the key. She yanks it free, dripping red, and jams it into the lock. It won't turn. She twists again, frantic, her eyes wide with despair as the beeping accelerates. The realization hits. There was never a chance. The timer blares and the harness detonates. The claws rip outward. Her ribs burst like snapping branches, blood spraying across the floor. Her torso splits open, body hanging lifeless, chest cavity spread grotesquely wide like iron wings. If you're still watching, make sure to subscribe and leave a like on this video. The freezer room. Danica Scott dangles from shackles in a walk-in freezer, the air so cold it burns her lungs. Frost coats the walls, glittering in the faint light. Her breath escapes in frantic clouds, her lips already blue as she thrashes against the chains. Jets hiss to life, spraying her body with water that freezes instantly. Ice spreads across her chest, her shriek echoing through the chamber. Another blast coats her hair, forming brittle icicles. She gasps desperately, her teeth chattering so violently it sounds like breaking glass. Her skin splits from the cold, blood freezing against her thighs. She kicks, chains rattling, but the ice locks her arms and legs in place. The sprays continue, layering thicker until her movements weaken, tremors slow to faint shivers. Frost creeps across her face, sealing her eyes half shut. Her chest rises once, then falters. She stiffens completely, frozen solid, a grotesque statue suspended in chains, her final scream frozen in silence. The shotgun carousel. 6 people are strapped to a rotating platform in Saw 6, each facing a shotgun barrel inches from their face. The carousel creaks as it spins, chains rattling as terrified screams fill the air. William Easton stands by a lever, trembling, sweat pouring from his brow. He can only save 2. The platform stops in front of a woman sobbing hysterically, begging for her children. William slams the lever. A lock clicks, her chair dropping out of danger. The carousel spins again, stopping at a man who curses him, veins bulging with rage. The timer shrieks. William hesitates, paralyzed. The shotgun erupts. Blood sprays. His body jerks and silence follows. The carousel grinds forward. Another captive begs, another screams. William saves one more, but the rest know their fate. The machine spins relentlessly, each shotgun firing in brutal succession. Heads burst into clouds of gore, screams silence mid-word. When it finally stops, two survivors sob uncontrollably, surrounded by the mangled remains of the others, the floor dripping red beneath them. The pound of flesh, a chamber with a massive balance scale. Eddie and Simone are chained on opposite sides, wrists locked high. The rules demand sacrifice. More flesh means survival. Eddie grabs a knife and presses it to his stomach. His first cuts are shallow, blood spilling but too little. He groans, stabbing deeper, trembling as sweat stings his eyes. Simone stares at the cleaver in front of her, then at her own arm. Her lips quiver before she screams, bringing the blade down. It bites deep, blood spraying across the tray. She howls, swinging again, nerves snapping with each hack. A grotesque chunk of flesh drops free. She slams it onto the scale. The pointer jerks upward. Eddie panics, cutting frantically, but the timer screeches. His collar detonates. His body torn apart in a violent spray. Simone collapses to her knees, clutching her mutilated arm, sobbing in pain but alive. The scalping seat. Brenda is bound tightly to a steel chair. Her wrists strain against the cuffs, head locked back in a brace. Above, her hair is clamped into a motorized spool. The motor hums, pulling strands taut. A pop echoes as hair rips free. She screams, eyes bulging. The machine whines louder, yanking more hair, skin tearing along her scalp. Blood beads and runs down her forehead. Tufts of bloody hair slap against the casing, dangling grotesquely. Brenda thrashes wildly, her wrist bleeding, screams raw and guttural. The motor speeds faster. Her scalp begins to peel, strips of flesh tearing loose with each pull. Blood sprays the walls as her cries weaken. A final wrench tears the crown of her scalp away entirely. She slumps forward in the chair, her head a mangled ruin while ribbons of hair swing from the winch above. The death mask trap. Michael awakens in a dimly lit room, a heavy device locked tightly around his head. Two halves of a metal mask press against his cheeks, each side lined with long, jagged spikes. The tape explains, in 60 seconds, the mask will snap shut, driving the nails into his skull. The key to freedom lies behind his right eye. Michael's breath quickens, panic rising into ragged sobs as he claws at the straps. The timer beeps, each sound cutting deeper into his nerves. He stumbles to the table, finding the small scalpel laid out for him. His hands shake uncontrollably as he presses the blade toward his own eye. Blood beads instantly as he scratches the skin around it. He screams, pulling back, unable to force the blade deeper. The beeps accelerate, his panic overwhelming any resolve. He drops the scalpel, thrashing against the mask as the final long tone blares. With a violent snap, the two halves slam shut. The spikes drive inward, crunching through bone and brain. His scream cuts short, body collapsing in silence, head crushed inside the steel jaws. The horsepower trap. A garage filled with smoke and gasoline fumes. 4 neo-Nazis are chained into place, one glued to the driver's seat of a roaring muscle car, his back fused to the vinyl, another chained to the bumper, a third strapped beneath the front tires, a fourth tied to a steel wall ahead. A red timer blinks, the jack drops, tires screech, crushing the victim beneath into pulp, bone shattering. The man at the bumper screams as a chain jerks, tearing him in half, blood spraying in violent arcs. The driver cries as his skin rips against the seat, but the car rockets forward. Headlights slam into the wall-bound victim. His body explodes into gore, bones and blood splattering the concrete. The car smashes into another, glass exploding, metal screeching. The driver's head slams into the windshield with a sick crunch. Silence falls. The garage steams with smoke, the ground littered with mangled bodies and shattered steel. The glass coffin. A transparent coffin sits in the middle of the chamber. Hoffman is shoved inside, Strom watching from above. The lid seals shut, lowering him beneath the floor. Strom smirks until the grinding begins. The walls start closing. At first they groan slowly, then quicken, steel panels sliding inward. Strom pounds on the walls, panic twisting his face. Spikes drop from the ceiling, scraping his shoulders. The chamber narrows, ribs creaking under pressure. His screams rise as blood sprays across the panels. The space tightens mercilessly, his chest snapping, bones splintering audibly. His voice cuts off in a wet crunch as the walls slam together. Blood splatters outward, smearing across steel. Beneath, Hoffman lies safe in the coffin, staring upward as Strom's crushed remains collapse in silence. The laser collars. A concrete room hums under buzzing lights. Captives kneel on the floor, steel collars clamped around their necks. Thin red lines glow faintly inside. Nervous laughter falters as the hum rises. The beams ignite, searing instantly. Skin scorches, smoke curling into the air. Screams explode as blood runs down their chins. The lines carve across temples and jaws, cutting deeper, bone beginning to glow under the heat. One captive claws at his collar until his fingers shred, but the device holds tight. The hum crescendos, then silence. Skulls split cleanly. Heads opening like grotesque flowers. Blood bursts upward before bodies collapse. The collars click open, dropping silently onto the wet floor. The room falls quiet. Corpses lying neatly bisected in pools of red. The smell of charred flesh hanging heavy.